Picture this. You're walking alone at night, vibing to some music with your headphones in. All of a sudden, you sense a tingling down your spine. It feels like you're being watched. You turn your head and someone on the other side of the road turns their head as they meet your line of sight. Were they staring at you? Whatever you believe, I am seeking to observe this phenomenon, dubbed as SCOPAESTHESIA, by a psychologist known as Edward B. Titchener. Students in his classroom would tell him that they could feel when someone was staring at them. The sensation was described as a state of unpleasant tingling, which gathers in volume and intensity until a movement which shall relieve it becomes inevitable. I'm sure you have felt something similar before, but is it extrasensory? Although Titchener himself concluded the phenomenon as a ruse, there was a 1983 study done using closed-circuit television cameras that reported a 74% success rate. This means that 74% of the time subjects noticed a sensation, they were right. To test this theory myself, I asked some of my friends to help me out. For the first trial, I decided to replicate a 2003 study done by psychologist Rupert Sheldrake in which he sat behind his subjects and asked if he was staring at them or not. Instead of asking them, I just created a tone that entices the subject to mark if they felt the sensation or not on a piece of paper, while I was marking if I was staring at them or not. In the second trial, I tried my best to replicate the CCTV study with a security camera on my iPad recording the subject while I observed them from another room. I don't consider my findings to be concrete evidence that SCOPAESTHESIA exists, but the results were interesting, to say the least. As you can see here, I tested 5 different people in intervals of 9 beeps per trial. I wish I could have done a more extensive study, but this is what I had to work with. Overall, I found that there was about a 55% chance that the subject would answer correctly, barely higher than 50-50 odds. However, something to consider was that these subjects scored statistically higher than the rest, the sober ones. The rest were under the influence of something, whether it was weed or alcohol. This one was done in 2 different parts, over and under the influence. Maybe I need new friends, but it raises questions about how substances might affect the 6th sense we have, or if we have it at all. The original study by Rupert Sheldrake that I was talking about found a 53.1 success rate, noting that one of the subjects who was under the influence of ecstasy scored well above the distribution. This is at odds with my findings, but I find it interesting nevertheless. Honestly, I really want to believe in something like this, so that's why I won't come to a conclusion in this video. I guess that's for you to decide. Whether it is extrasensory or not, everyone I tested agreed that this sensation exists, so who am I to declare it a falsehood?
I didn't really feel nervous, but at some points, I wasn't sure if it was placebo or not. I felt almost sort of like a pressure, at least when you were behind me in the in-person one, on the back of my head. Whenever I felt that, like almost an uncomfortableness, then I'd usually circle a yes.